I'd like to call to order the Avalon City Council meeting of Tuesday, March 1st. And may we have the roll call, please, Audra?
Yes. Councilmember Cassidy?
Here.
Councilmember Hernandez?
Here.
Councilmember Sampson?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Olson?
Here.
Mayor Marshall?
Here. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. And placing your hand over your heart, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And if we could just take a moment to remember a dear friend of many of ours, Vicki Mead, who passed away. Be seated. Announcements?
Oh, okay. We'll start with me. I'd like to remind the public that although the city is going through the RFP process for its transit service, taxi voucher, dial-a-ride, and bus, all services are available and operating. We're in discussion with Catalina Transportation Services to extend their contract for 60 days while the RFP process continues. That'll be back at the next council meeting. We also want to assure the public the dial-a-ride program is not going away. If you have any questions regarding the city's transit program, feel free to contact me, Audra McDonald, 310-510-0220, extension 118, or drop by City Hall. I'm happy to answer your questions.
I also understand you have placed in the cabs some information sheets.
Yes, we provided the city's information sheet on the transit RFP process, why we're doing it, what changes we anticipate, and we have provided those to CTS and asked them to make sure that the drivers have them in case any riders have questions about it. We are working on a Spanish translation for that. The city doesn't have a translating person on staff, so I think it's a discussion we're going to be having with Mrs. Ratty when she returns to see if we can hire somebody, outsource it to do that for us.
Great, thank you. And written communications?
I have none.
Okay. Presentations. We have two this evening, I believe, maybe more, oh, probably more, but let's start with Pat Grady.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. I wanted to just spend a couple minutes to bring the council up to date on the AD project that we started last fiscal year, and still moving forward to the current time. We basically broke the project into 4 different phases. Phase 1, which we started last fiscal year, was focused more or less on the presentations and providing computer access to the council members. So as you notice from last fiscal year, we installed the small monitors along the dais. We installed the large flat screen TV for presentations to the members of the public, and also added the ability to present from 4 different locations, one on that side of the dais, one on that side, here from the podium, and also back from the AV room. We also added computers for all of the council members, so you have the ability to not so much as access the internet and view city data, but also view the agendas as they're posted. And as we continue to improve the agenda system, you'll be empowered to actually do more with that system in terms of marking your agendas for future notes and using them as future reference. So we're still building upon that endeavor. And then also the last part of phase 1 was the installation of the large speakers up ahead, which really improved the sound quality for the members. So that was phase 1. Phase 2 and 3 we combined for this current fiscal year. And this is the item that the council approved, I want to say, about 3 months ago. And that was basically involving enhancing the viewer experience. Members of the public, the people that view the meetings on the internet, as well as Channel 3. And what that encompassed was the installation of the 4 HD white cameras that you see in the council chambers. At the same time, because we have the HD cameras, we're now broadcasting in HD on Channel 3. So I think you probably have seen the improvements that people have seen when the meetings are broadcasted. And that's only going to get better too. As Catalina Broadband enhances their equipment, then the broadcast video will achieve even a better quality for the people that view the meetings on Channel 3. One of the other items we're implementing is the streaming service, switching it away from live stream over to the Granicus system. And by doing that, when viewers look at the agenda online, they can actually queue up the different agenda items directly. So previously, people had to view the entire meeting if they were interested in watching one particular item. With the new system, they can go directly to that item, queue it directly, and then up comes the video. So basically, it's interaction between the agenda and the video itself is the major advantage that we get from this Granicus system. And then finally, for phase 2 and 3, we redid the AV room by replacing the outdated control systems and the speaker systems and bringing that up to modern technology. So looking ahead for the phase 4, which we'll be coming back to council to request some additional budget funds for next fiscal year, and that basically entails replacing the microphones for all the council members. We want to look into doing the what they call omnidirection microphones. So currently, when you use your microphones, you have to speak directly into it for the sound to project. With the omnidirection, you can actually be somewhat at a distance, and it picks up the sound in your surroundings. So they're a lot more sensitive, but I think the council will be pleased once we move in that direction. The other item is replacing the podium. We're looking at a modern podium that can actually house the laptop, hide all the cabling, and create more of a professional type of setup for the podium itself. The other item is lighting. We'd like to replace the lighting above the council members. We believe this will enhance the video itself that's streamed on the internet as well as Channel 3. Right now it's typically a little dark when it is portrayed, so we want to enhance that as well during this process. We're also looking at web conferencing and remote streaming ability. So by doing that, we have the opportunity to potentially have meetings where certain consultants can actually stream into the meeting without actually have to be on site. So we're looking at potentially another monitor to display the individual itself. So we're looking at different options there, along with the capability of streaming a remote meeting. So for example, if the council has a meeting elsewhere on the island, we'll have the ability to still show that meeting live on the internet and as well as Channel 3 by running a signal back here to City Hall and then retransmitting it. So that's one of the other alternatives we're looking at as well. We're also looking at additional speakers, potentially at the rear of the council chambers. We've added a two here that projects to the audience, but as I understand from the hearing that the council had a few weeks ago, there were some sound issues where the council couldn't hear everything that was going on with the people sitting out here on the tables. So there's a couple thoughts that we're looking at. One is putting speakers on the back, portraying back to the council, creating more or less a surround sound type of environment, or potentially putting some speakers on the walls along on the sides there. That way the sound would project to the council in that manner as well. So these are some of the options that we're kind of looking at this point. We're also considering blinds to darken the windows. I understand there were times when we had to put a black film to keep this dark room for certain events that take place in the council chambers. We're also considering an automated voting system, replacing the outdated voting system and going more to electronic type of system.
Nah, come on.
Change.
Again, we're just throwing ideas out there. Nothing's in concrete right now. Obviously hasn't been funded yet, so. And then we're also looking for additional equipment to handle the Spanish simulcast in a more professional manner. I know we're going to set it up on a temporary basis for the upcoming forum. However, with some additional equipment, we could have a permanent setup and create that ability in a much easier fashion for the future. So we're looking at that. And then the last item is potentially adding a projector along with this to project onto the screen here in the event the council chambers are rented out or borrowed by other organizations. that want to do training or presentations in here. By doing that, then they have the ability to tie their equipment into that equipment without having to tie into our equipment in the back room, and wouldn't require anybody to man the room in the back to use that equipment. So that's kind of where we're at and kind of where we're looking to go for the upcoming fiscal year at this point, and I'll be happy to answer any questions the council might have.
I think it's great. Step forward.
Very good.
Big step forward. Thank you. Thank you very much, Pat.
Thanks, Pat.
And I believe we have Southern California Edison here today.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. Adeline Young with Southern California Edison. I want to take this opportunity to provide you with the latest update of the permitting of the desalination facility. Edison representatives had a productive meeting with the Deputy Director and the head of the Southern California branch of the Division of Drinking Water yesterday. We emphasized the importance of obtaining the permit as reported during the dates of the last council meeting. And both the regulators were very positive, and they commented that they would stay on top of the amendment process and to make sure that the permits could be processed within the time frame that we had provided. So that's really great news. We're continuing to work with the Division of Drinking Water. We don't have a timeline right now, not right now, or a time frame, but hopefully by the next council meeting, Jeff will be able to provide you with some more specific dates. So I'm also here to talk about emergency preparedness. I understand that there might be rain this Saturday, so I'm hoping that I can bring good news. But if there's rain, there's things that we can do to be prepared and to make sure if there's any sort of an outage or if there's any sort of like an emergency. So I have brought out a couple handouts that I've placed out at the table. It talks about putting together an emergency preparedness kit, and there's some pictures of what you need to include, such as bottled water, flashlights, first aid kit, rechargeable battery packs, since we're so dependent on our phones right now, battery operated or hand cranked radio, fresh batteries, non-perishable food, special needs items such as prescription medication, coolers or ice chests. So this is just information for you and for the residents of Avalon, and I just want to say it's really nice to be back on the island again.
Yeah, thank you. And this is something we can put on our website?
Yes, and I have links as well that I can forward to that.
Okay,
Thank you.
excellent. Great. Any other presentations? David, you don't have anything to report? Oh, oral communications, you didn't have a presentation. Okay. Well, there will be no city manager report unless you have something to reporting in her.
I am not the city manager, and
Okay.
I have nothing to report.
For her.
I do not.
And city attorney?
We have no reportable action. No reportable action. So.
Yeah, I do
Oh, I'm
have.
sorry.
I do have something to report. This is an update on something we've been working on for about 5 or 6 years, and oftentimes, as I'm sitting here, it's the subject of criticism about the legal fees, and so I just thought when something really goes well, I should tell you about it. So last week we received word from the state of California that they will be fully funding the Pebbly Beach Road project. It's going to get a check of about $745,000. This was money that we had earmarked originally from the redevelopment, and the state took that away, and we've been working with the state to get that money. And in fact, the money that we've been using to get that money has been paid for by the state. So the state covered our attorney fees, and the state is now going to be writing us a check for about $800,000. That will complete the work, and if we hadn't done this, that work would have, which we are required to complete pursuant to our agreement with the island company, would have had to come out of the general fund. So, good news all around.
That's very good news. Thank you.
Great news.
Yeah. Okay, council member reports. Who would like to start?
I will.
Okay.
With the interest of time, we have a very heavy agenda today. I will be attending Gateway Cities Council of Government tomorrow, as well as the Transportation Committee meeting. And I wanted to make 2 announcements. The first one regarding the Catalina Island Medical Center, and a reminder to the community that it is mammogram time. Digital mammograms by Inner Images will be available at the medical center's group office this coming Friday, March 4th, and Saturday, March 5th, from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. You can call Janaea Dominguez or Christina Grain at the Social Services Department at 310-510-0096. They can make appointments for you for Friday and Saturday. And I also want to add to that the Catalina Island Women's Forum does have a program for assistance to those who may need financial assistance in obtaining a mammogram. So if you have a need and would like to inquire about a scholarship for that, you can email to info@theciwf.org. And my second announcement is that the 2016 Community Health Fair has been scheduled for Thursday, April 28th. The medical center is in dire need of volunteers, so they're asking to get the word out earlier. It will be, again, Thursday, April 28th from 9:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. If you have the availability on that day to help volunteer, please call Julie Glass at 310-963-1253. And that's all I have.
That's very good. Councilmember Hernandez? Okay, Councilmember Sampson?
Yes, I'd just like to thank the Recreation Department for another successful year with the flag football and basketball started. And if it's anything like the football, it's going to be great. And there's a lot of kids showed up. It was a really well-run program, and Joe Machado Field still being utilized really great. The snack bar is working out great, and let's see, we're going forward. And I also think that on the same subject, on a little different subject, I mean, you were talking about the well up at Joe Machado Field, and I guess they went ahead and they replaced the pump, and in the process of that. Is that correct,
What
Dennis?
did they do, Dave? Or
Are they going to do that?
Dennis?
I thought that Dudek Consulting was working on that, so.
Yeah, we were working on it. We didn't get there quick enough. We needed council approval to purchase a pump, and it happened real quickly. It turns out it's going to be $1,500 to $2,000, and we plan on doing it next month.
Okay,
And
great.
okay,
It's well worth it.
well worth it.
Absolutely.
We learned a lot through their investigations,
Yes.
and it should be simple for Public Works to go ahead and put another pump in there.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Anyway, so basically the field's running and functioning just fine, efficiently. And basketball season starts this next week. Yeah, so looking forward to that. Anyway, thank you for that, David Hart.
Well, talking about wells.
Is that it, sweetie?
Yes.
Okay. Sweetie. Two things. Three things. Well, two things. About 10 days ago, my family had a first-hand experience calling upon the local hospital, Mercier, and the fire department. And I would like to say they all did an excellent job. The follow-up was incredible, so I want to thank you all for participating in that. Also on Friday, the Office of Homeland Security, the LA County Library, and the Friends of the Library held the naturalization workshop at the Catholic Church. The space was provided by Father Peroni. I was in attendance. There were probably 25 people there. It was an excellent opportunity to get information out to the public, primarily to those who currently have green cards, so that they know the process in which they can become a naturalized citizen. They have a lot of material that has been given to the library. It's in English and Spanish. There's a CD on how to do it. Lots of question and answers. One of the big ones was how not to get scammed, because when you talk to a number of people in town, they have spent hundreds and thousands of dollars going to people that were not qualified, and they just took their money and they got nowhere closer to their citizenship. So it was an excellent workshop. There was one employer there that was really exciting to see, because he's very concerned about getting his employees to become citizens. It's just better for everyone. So it was a wonderful workshop. The other thing that I think moving forward, the council needs to work with the school to consider ESL and naturalization classes for those folks. I did it years ago, helped with that, and we used to do naturalization. Well, the community did them years ago, but it's been forever, and I think it's time we get back on the bandwagon. So anyway, anything the city can do, at least from my perspective, to assist with those programs and encourage those would be great. So that was excellent. Okay, that's all I had.
Can I?
And here you go, Mayor Pro Tem. I'm sorry, I got all so excited.
I guess so. Thursday, I'm going to be attending the LA County Division League of California Cities meeting in Downey, I believe. And on Monday, you and I are going to go to Edison meeting on the mainland, talk about water.
Yes.
And I just have a question for you. We got this notice of ex parte communication and about the water, about the freight case.
Yes.
And at the last council meeting, we decided not to take any action, as I recall. And you wrote a letter as the mayor.
Yes, I did.
Well, how can you do that?
I can write it as an individual person, so could you.
I understand the individual person, but when you sign mayor to it, it elevates you from the individual person level.
Well, I don't know that I did anything wrong. If I did, the city attorney can talk to me or can mention. We are all listed as ex parte communicators singularly. So.
But we're listed as ex parte communicators because of the city association.
Yes.
Not as individuals.
Yes.
And so I think by writing the letter, I think you violated the council's actions of not taking any action. Personally.
I thought we were told that at any time we wanted to write a letter, we just couldn't put it on city letterhead.
As long as you're not signing it, the mayor, and as long as it's not part of the party, because we were parties as members of the city council, we were parties as individuals to the proceeding.
If I did something wrong, please.
It was the ex parte. The notice of ex parte communication was done because Ms. Marshall asked me how to correct the ex parte, and so we prepared that as we would do to help the council member comply with the law. The ex parte notice was done on her own, and the only issue there is whether it somehow violated the city rules and policies. I haven't looked at that. We can if you want to.
That's okay.
But again, you are individually able to contact. You don't lose your First Amendment right when you become a council member. The question is whether the action if the council votes on something and then you take an action, it's better if you don't identify yourself as mayor, but you still have the First Amendment right to communicate.
And that's all I'm trying to, on a going forward basis, when we act as council members or mayor pro tem, we need the backing of the council to do it. If we don't have the backing of the council to do it, no action to be taken, then we're acting as individuals. That's all. Only point.
Thank you for clarifying that. Okay. Anything else? Do we want to talk about that transportation thing for moving forward?
I'd like to put on the next agenda discussion of requiring people that have been required to install off-street parking, the method to have them utilize it so they wouldn't park on the street. As a first step in this, identifying some of this congestion and parking issue.
I go along with it wholeheartedly.
Yep.
Okay.
I agree.
That's 4.
Okay.
Richard?
4, Richard, 5.
There's no parking problem. Make sure you heard.
Okay, oral communications. This is an opportunity for members of the public to speak on items that are not on the agenda. You will be limited to 3 minutes and no action will be taken.
David flocks to the podium.
David Hart, City of Avalon's Recreation Department. Like Joe said, we have youth basketball is starting this Sunday at Avalon High School. It's in the gymnasium. We have the kids K through second grade starting at 10 a.m. The boys 3rd through 5th from 11 to 1. Girls 3rd through 5th from 1 to 3. Girls 6th through 8th from 3 to 5. And boys 6th through 8th from 5 to 7. Exciting. This year we have the largest participation rate we've ever had with 145 kids participating, which is 10 more than last year, last year was record-breaking at 135. So we continue to grow the programs. The spring session of Kick It Up Dance classes will be starting on March 23rd. We encourage those already participating to sign up for the spring session. It will be teaching for the dance recital, which will be on May 14th. Again, it is $56 for the 8-week sessions, plus additional for uniforms, which will be discussed at within the classroom. The sign-ups are here at City Hall. The second part of the Fit Trail Assessment and Community Workshop is this Thursday, March 3rd, here in the council chamber at 5:30. We are inviting everyone who would like to have an input on what the trail should look like to come share their ideas. Again, this is at 5:30 Thursday here in the council chamber. The CIF ring ceremony for the boys football team will be Monday, March 7th, which is this upcoming Monday, at the high school gymnasium at 4:30. Continue with the celebration for them. The girls basketball program won their second back-to-back league championship, made it back to the semifinals for the second year in a row, but sad to say they fell just short in the semifinal game. But congratulations to those girls. Springfest will be Thursday, April 21st. We are taking signups for booths at City Hall here at the Recreation Department. The fees are still $50 for profit and $35 for nonprofits. Please sign up today. It's on a first-come, first-served basis. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Question for David.
Yes, sir.
When are the RFPs coming back for the turf?
Right now, it's being finalized through a secondary component, and so we should be having. I was told we should be having it with late last week, early this week. So I'm expecting to hear back from them this week.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. I'm Jim Lujan from the Catalina Island Chamber of Commerce and Visitors Bureau, and I just wanted to share 3 pieces of information with you very briefly. Yesterday, as I'm sure you're aware, we hosted a day of celebrating Leap Day here on the island, and primarily we did that as a social media output, but we also had great success, including 122 Hippity Hopper race participants, including over 60 from Avalon School who came down on their PE periods and participated in those races. We had into the over 100 new signups for our monthly email newsletters from visitors to the island. And I just before coming up here had dinner at Blue Water and got an earful from a visitor who just couldn't stop praising why she had chosen to come here and take advantage of the $29 offers and what a brilliant campaign it was. So we consider that a success and look forward to working for in another program 4 years from now, including working with the Guinness Book of World Records to hopefully be the record-breaking community for the most people participating in a leapfrog event on Leap Day. So stay tuned. We got 4 years to work on.
4 years to practice.
The number's only 1,400 and something currently, so we think if it's on a cruise ship day, we can pull that off. A reminder, as you heard just a moment ago, regarding some of the enhancements coming to the council chambers, that we will be hosting a candidate forum on March 31st, and that will be a pilot bilingual program, so we're looking forward to being a part of that. There are members of the community who have expressed a concern that this is not something that is a community event, that it is a chamber event, and while it is hosted by us, I would like to address that concern and say all are welcome to participate. You are welcome to come here and ask questions live and in person. If you are inhibited from doing that for whatever reason or have to work during that time, You can submit from a link on our website anonymously or by identifying yourself. Any questions you want to be sure are asked. And so we encourage everyone to participate in that. And then the final thing, another piece of really good news is we have evolved our annual concert series from being just a summer concert series to being a much more perennial series of events. And our first concert of 2016 will be on March 19th in conjunction with the Catalina Marathon. We will be having an Irish-themed program featuring the Humble Hooligans. So we look forward to having all of you and members of our community come down and enjoy that as well as all of the visitors who will be here for race weekend. Thank you.
Sweet.
Thanks, Jim.
Great, very thorough, thank you. Any questions of Jim? Okay. All righty, yes. Yes, we are.
Pam Albers, 217 Calle del Sol. For a minute there, I felt that like this was the Republican debate, so I'm just going to jump in and correct the record because it makes me crazy when people make accusations when maybe they shouldn't be. I recall that the City Council, as a body, voted to take a certain position before the State Lands Commission, and that you, Mr. Olson, went to the State Lands and set them straight on what that letter meant. So I think before you start pointing fingers, you better consider your own actions in that regard. What I really came up to talk about, and I want to thank Mr. Lujahan for posting the financial data. The only thing I would ask is if we might do it by the fiscal year that the city uses, because it would be helpful to come. Okay. But nevertheless, I took my little calculator out because there was a comment made a couple of weeks ago that we had ensured that the budget was going to be conservative with regard to revenues, and luckily Mr. Harvey used a template, so he just changed the numbers so you could pretty well follow along from one budget year to the next. So for 2014, for the same period that we just got from the chamber for the second 2 quarters in our fiscal year, so that would be July through December, if you look at the numbers that were projected, well, for the entire fiscal year, we increased revenues $1 million for harbor, admissions tax and wharfage fees and mooring fees. Harbor related, we have some other kinds of revenue, obviously, but those are the big 3. So the budget for this fiscal year shows $1 million increase for those. And when you do the numbers, we're about $224,000 ahead for 6 months, which are the heaviest 6 months of the year. So I'm just sounding the alert. Today was a really good day on the stock market, so you never know. Things could pick up. Maybe the snow will be melting really fast. And then the other question I was going to ask is what progress is being made on getting the $500,000 back for the desal plant that we chipped in, since that came out of our reserves? We might want to know about that.
I don't think we actually.
No, you go ahead.
Okay, we haven't paid that yet because that is tied to the performance of the plant actually being operational. Let me just complete. We haven't spent it yet. It is dependent upon the plant working within the guidelines in the manuals for 2 months. So we would anticipate that if the plant actually comes online in June, and it has 2 good months, we'll pay that in July or August. With respect to getting the funds back or asking for them, the state is still working on the application for the big grant that is for the desal plants. We've talked with the state. They know we're asking for it. They like the project, but they're still working on the dang paperwork so that we can apply for that grant. So that's what we're doing.
Great.
Good info.
That's a good question.
Very good question. Anyone else? Okay. Let's get to the consent calendar.
So I guess I'm just going to go over the items.
Yes.
Okie doke. The first item on the consent is request to authorize staff to execute an amendment to the scope and budget of the approved income survey contract with Michael Baker. And the intent of that income survey is to challenge the census data as it relates to the city's median household income. This request is to amend the contract for an additional $5,500 to take an opportunity while they're here to get commuter information to help the city continue to try and get permanent funding for the commuter subsidy program. Number 2 is a waterside permit modification applications by Memory Maker Charters. They have submitted a waterside project modification proposing to add a second 19 to 22 foot vessel to the current permit. The recommended action is to make the affirmative finding that the conditions set forth in the Avalon Municipal Code have been met and grant the waterside permit project application modification of adding a second boat to Memory Maker Fishing Charters waterside permit. Number 3 has been pulled. Number 4 is on-call civil engineering firm contract. The city is in need of a new civil engineering firm to provide plan checks and various other services on an as-needed basis. These activities are necessary for any new development or capital improvement projects that may require redesign and or verifications of civil plans and drawings. The recommended action is to authorize the city manager to execute an agreement with Engineered Solutions Group to perform the requisite services on an as-needed basis for the Planning Department and the Public Works Capital Improvements Department for 1 year with authorization to renew.
And what is the pleasure of council?
I'll move staff on 1, 2, and 4.
Second.
Move to approve.
Is there 1, 2, and 4? Is there any discussion? Okay, not, are you, on one of these, you want to, please.
Amanda Cook, 102 Middle Terrace. I'm asking about item number 4, the change in the plan check services. Is this to replace the S-Gill contract?
It's similar to Eskil, yes. It's replacing it from what I understand, but here comes Dennis.
No.
Oh, no.
S-Gill is still performing structural and building. This is to replace Mike Murphy for civil.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Thank you.
Mike finally retired?
Good.
He did? Well, I'll tell you.
Oh, okay. Thank you for that clarification. And it's also noticeable that there's no fiscal impact on this because these fees are paid for by the developer. Okay.
If it's a city project, it's
Okay. So there's been a first and a second. Let's call for the vote.
all ayes.
Okay, now, folks, it's only 20 to 7.
I do have a 30-second update because I also, something that Pam had asked for, also just an update to the commission that gives these grants out is the California Water Commission. And Joe Byrne, who sits in the office next to me, was reappointed as president of that commission. So they're in charge of giving out the billions of dollars. Joe has recused himself from any consideration of Avalon, but
Good is it then?
it helps. But it helps. So.
Okay. If there's nothing further, meeting adjourned. Denise, I'm sorry you missed this.